This episode is brought to you by Self-Care for Diabetes, a virtual online program that's doing diabetes care differently.
We don't tell you to lose weight. Instead, we help you create positive and meaningful changes that make your life with diabetes better than before. Visit selfcareforddiabetes.com to learn more.
Is this thing on?
Yeah. Brand new tech. I'm super stoked. And for those of you who can't see my face, I am lying because I'm one of those people who prefers to literally do things the old way all the time, even when they're obsolete. So, Becca, it has been a while. And let me just start there. It has been a while since we've talked. It has been
Do you remember when we last talked? Because I had to look it up.
Yeah, 2020. Okay. Like
No. Well, we did because we had, here's our backstory because it's been like 5 years. We had one episode, number 169. I laughed at that because we had 69.
Right.
But it was about emotional eating because we were just sort of over COVID and the vaccines were just, I don't even know if I was vaccinated in my first shot or not, but anyway, but it was right after the insurrection on the Capitol. So somehow you call me and you're like, I'm losing it. Let's talk. And so we managed one episode in 2021. And I have a feeling we're both still losing it. So here we are. It's might as well end the year the way it started.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, gosh, for all our listeners, I love you. Hang in there. What I'm about to say probably isn't going to be super motivational, but it's real. And that's what you come to us for. So we have not spoken in all of 2021 pretty much. We are literally days away from it ending. And I couldn't be happier, to be honest. 2021 has proven to be what a shit year. Like, can I just say that? I know that you all are feeling the same thing, but it's really hit me hard to a point where, I don't know how much more of this I can take. Both, from a health perspective, that's really gone out the window, unfortunately, because given my background and my struggles, that's the first thing that I tend to sacrifice, right, is my health. And damn it, if I wasn't doing better than I ever had been prior to all this. And I think that a lot of us can relate to that. But yeah, slowly but surely, it goes from being able to move around outside in ways that bring joy to trying to find ways that make sense in this new normal to all out just stopping for me.
Yeah.
So moving my body other than what's required of my day-to-day activities around the house. And of course with kids, right? Like, thank God always for my children, because if it wasn't for them, I think I would have just melted right into my couch.
Yeah.
So I'm forced as a parent to get up and move my butt, right? With a soon to be 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, there's no not moving my butt. So hopefully some of you guys have some kids out there or pets or a friend or somebody that's kind of pulling you along, because I know that they help me out.
The exercise thing, and it's like,
it just wasn't enjoyable. It's not fun. What am I going to do? Go to a gym, go to a class. I mean, I used to explore, when I hit a wall and I didn't like an activity, I'd go try to find another one. Well, now I'm like, that's dangerous, right? In my head. So.
Well, it's interesting because hearing you talk is like, it sounds like similar to my story. And I would say one of my big difficulties of this year has also been related to movement. And like, it's what's tested me the most with practicing body kindness. And hopefully, listeners have come to know that, I don't know, like I'm a human too. Right. And so I'm still in my own practice every single day, and I'm going to be an open book about it. But yeah, I would say movement, And for me, it would go back to the juggle struggle of time and the sheer amount of rest my body has required, like rest. And then I dealt with a back injury, but all along there was this, the voice, it could get critical at times, but it would be like, kind of like, I just want to point out that you should be doing this and you're not doing this. And when are you going to fix it? And kind of like your usual is you might miss 3 or 4 days in a row. And then you're big air quote, back on track.
No. I only laugh because I can relate and not. And let me tell you how not. So like going back to, oh gosh, my experience after The Biggest Loser and some of the stuff that we unpacked, like what I found happening right before, maybe at the very beginning, I was like, small voices like, oh, you should be moving or this or that. And then I just went right back to a place of numbness again when it came to that. And I don't know if the listeners remember, if you're new to it, it was really early in Body Kindness podcast where I had gone through a period, which I feel a lot of similarities now, where I just feel numb. Like I feel numb to good. I feel numb to bad. I feel indifferent. Right. So like at a certain point when it came to movement, I was like, fuck it. Like, okay. Yeah. And then when I did, it felt like more of a struggle than it brought me joy. Right. When I was moving for myself. So that's what I've been really fighting through is just a numbness, and it's difficult because now, is a time where I had planned in my head back when, all this was not going on, where my daughter's now in a place where we could have been enjoying T-ball and I wanted to be coaching and, there was soccer and I wanted to be helping with that. And, for all of us, the world has flipped this upside down. And I have really felt a sense of numbness. I, like many of our listeners, we have friends or friends of friends that are no longer with us due to this. And I almost feel like for me, it's an instant, it's just a shield again, right? It's just putting up a wall. So I guess that's my defense mechanism, now that I'm talking about it and saying it out loud, but it's not one that I'm excited to have back in my life.
Yeah. Well, so listen, avoiding things is definitely a coping mechanism. And I want to circle back to the idea of numbness on a deeper level. With respect to movement, right? If we think about, there's a skill from DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, right? Called check the facts, right? And so the facts might be, hey, you know what? It's been a while since I've engaged in movement joyfully, and that's my preferred way to move, right? And so those are some facts that we can work on accepting. I prefer to move when I'm feeling in a positive mood or when I can notice that the movement is joyful. And we can also check the facts that, when I take a break from movement and then I decide to try something, I desire it to be joyful, but I might feel some physical discomfort. I might feel agitated that it's not easier or more fun, right? And so we can name that as a fact. And the reason why that could be helpful is because it kind of allows you to feel the emotions, right? But then also feel the rational brain way of thinking through facts. And then the overlap of the emotional brain and the rational brain is wise mind, right? And so I know there are some things, that I would talk about in Body Kindness that you don't necessarily have to like what you're doing, but stop and think of the possible benefits that might give you. So, you go really big into extremes. I think what your mind is doing is going back to the ideals of what you desire. And there's nothing wrong about thinking about the ideals, but how do I get on the path toward the ideals? And what can I do in this moment? Right. And so I happen to know you have a Peloton, right? Whether it's that just because weather or whatnot, and it might be 10 minutes and you might want to do a class and not like the idea of not completing a class. But if it's get on and pedal and be with your body, right? And even if you don't like how difficult it is, even if you don't like the way you're breathing, even if you're in your mind, it's like, this should be the full class, this should be easier, right? We have all those feelings. We allow all those feelings. And then we respect our agreement that we had 10 minutes and we completed 10 minutes, and we commit, right? Fully commit to caring for your well-being no matter what. We commit to affirming, did it feel challenging emotionally and physically? Was that okay? Can we validate that we accomplished something? And maybe that's not the ideal of exactly what we want, but can we validate that it is a step in the direction of self-care, and that I did not enjoy that experience, and here's my facts and reasons why. And I feel grateful that I approached movement because I recognize that's going to help my heart, lungs, blood vessels, that will help with stress and anxiety. And it'll be up to me, right? Can I choose to move, in a way that I recognize as movement again tomorrow or the next day or next week, right? One thing leads to another. So there's that element. And then just because you had mentioned kids, I think you'd be shocked to realize how much health benefits you get out of just living your life being mobile. And it is really true. And I relate to studies that I've seen on people who worked in hotels and cleaned rooms. And what they found was that the physical activity that they did on the job was greater than if they had scheduled and planned like purposeful, regular activity that was like the minimum baseline. So remember, you were on The Biggest Loser. You have a messed up, sorry to say, but you have a messed up view of movement, and you're trying to heal it.
Yeah, right now, with my little guy, I'm hauling him up and down our stairs, and that's, 25, 27 pounds up 3 flights. I get it. It just, one thing that first of all, thank you for that, because I think, when you're caught up in the shit, right? Like, you forget that every minute, every moment counts if you really take it in and sit with it and choose to look at it in a positive light, right? Which is not what's been on in my house. There have been no positive lights. Of course, my kids, let's go there. But you get what I'm saying. I think that we're all dealing with it. What I think that I revert to, not just as a sense of numbness, and I don't know how many of our listeners might be able to relate to this, but, I do run, but you know what I run towards, Rebecca, now, and I'm realizing this, is a caregiver to a fault. So like, I dive fully into like, oh my gosh, are my kids okay? Am I protecting them? What are they eating? How are they feeling? What are, how's my, my wife, how's she doing it? Are we keeping her safe? So, then I start trying to do little projects around the house that really are dumb and don't need to be done. And then I stress out about them. And, it's just, and don't get me wrong, like there has been a lot that's gone on this year for all of us, but I know that I've made at least 25% of that up for myself. Right. So I go into this, let me hide behind
distractions,
caring for everybody. Yeah. Well, caring for everybody else. It's like, oh gosh, I'm going to buy a fish. Who the hell buys a fish in a pandemic when you're just trying to take care of yourself? And then my wife had to talk me out of buying the kids a dog. Why? Because they wanted one that was going to make them happy. But who the hell needs to take care of anything else at this moment? In my house.
Did you know that compulsive shopping is a coping mechanism, like similar to
oh, I'm sure. Like, I know that's what my wife is doing. It's not so much me. Santa. Yeah. I'll literally find stuff at our, door front or, there's stuff being delivered to the shop. So that's a whole other segment. But, all that to say, it has been a rough one. I see our listeners out there, and I hope that I'm not, coming across as woe is me. I want this to come across as woe is us because that's kind of what
if your
I'm going
life
through.
Sucks,
so
ours does too. Join us. Join our circle.
No, you get what I'm saying. No, absolutely. It's one of those things where we're all dealing with something, right?
Yeah.
This is all shaking us to our core in different ways, and we're all dealing with it in different ways. And I'm so glad that we touched in, Becca, because I'll be honest, I forgot how important setting aside even 30 seconds of just meditative thought can be, because that has not happened for me, if I'm being honest. So, that really is a goal of mine, is this week, right? Because we have one more week left, and I refuse to leave this year as shitty as I think it is, right? So maybe this week I'm going to set a goal of 30 seconds a day for the next week to just think about the good and what I can do for myself. And I'm hoping that our listeners out there, those of you that are having similar situations to mine and feelings to mine, join me, right? And those of you that were able to make 2021 a better year than 2020, or even a better year than 2019, like, God bless you, keep going and set your goals too. Like I'm proud of you. It just wasn't my experience. So.
Yeah. Well, Barbara Fredrickson in Positive Psychology, who created Broaden and Build theory, spiraling up, right? Which then I used about spiraling up for self-care habits and positive emotions, right? She would say it's about being able to look at the bright side, even when the shit is going down. So I think that's a great goal. The other thing that I would say with gentle kindness, I don't want to keep you from any movement that you are inspired to do. With regard to the numbness, I might encourage you to consider meditation, either a short loving kindness meditation, something that you can commit to that I actually think will help you connect to your well-being and will help allow the feeling of numbness to be there. It also sounds a lot like burnout. And we could talk more, soon about whether or not, you deal with the winter blues, low vitamin D seasonally, depression. I think that would be a great topic to kind of delve into numbness, and things can be similar, not the same, so this feels like a time when I was really struggling around XYZ. It feels similar, but not exactly the same. But I love you. I'm not going anywhere. We are going to recommit, turn our mics on again and talk. And I just want to wish you well and a happy, peaceful end to the year. And I'll talk to you in the new year.
Yeah, definitely look forward to it. And to all our listeners, I look forward to being in contact with you a lot more this year. Let's figure this new one out. Take care.
And that's our show. The podcast is made possible with support from listeners. Please donate to help offset production costs at gofundme.com/bodykindness. And please rate and review the show when you have a moment. It really matters. Let's keep the conversations going on Facebook. Search Body Kindness and request to join the group for Body Kindness readers and listeners. Have a question for us to answer on a future episode? Visit bodykindnessbook.com/question. Body Kindness books and audiobooks are available wherever books are sold. To request a signed print copy, visit bodykindnessbook.com/order. For other questions about this podcast, please email info@bodykindnessbook.com.